All right, let's get reaction now from journalist and author Batya Ungar-Sargon, the newest member of the NewsNation family. She's set to host her own show on the weekend, starting on September 20th, called Batya, of course.
Welcome
you so much
to
the NewsNation family.
I admire you so much.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure.
Great to have you on set. Okay, let's talk about this crazy day today. Our colleague Chris Cillizza, also a NewsNation contributor, wrote this afternoon, "This hearing did a disservice to the American public. It's performative junk and embarrassing. I don't know how anyone who watched could come away feeling good about how our democracy currently functions." I think I agree with him.
It was so depressing because on the one hand, you had RFK Jr., who came off like the entitled Nepo baby that he is. He was rude, he was full of just misinformation, but also this kind of sense of moral superiority while delivering dangerous information that will harm American children, our most vulnerable citizens. But unfortunately, on the other side, where you would hope to see a robust and informed and respectable response from the Democrats, you really didn't. What you saw were people who themselves have no moral credibility because they have not yet taken responsibility for the ways in which they failed the American people over the COVID pandemic. So it was really a kind of pox on both your houses. And I totally agree with you. The losers were the American people here.
Here's the problem. After COVID, in the wake of COVID, trust in government, trust in science, trust in vaccines has dramatically fallen. People don't know who to trust. And the problem with that hearing today, you didn't come out of it thinking, oh, actually, that's not true. There were a couple Republican senators who happened to be doctors who asked really smart questions. But the problem is, it's the format of the hearing, it's the combativeness, it's the fact that everybody's willing to get down in the mud and wrestle with the pigs of that hearing, that, you know, we're talking about serious stuff here. Our health, life and death is at stake in many cases.
Absolutely. There are real problems when it comes to health in this country. Americans are suffering from a rise in chronic illnesses. We do have a broken healthcare system. Healthcare is unbelievably expensive. The cost has risen by thousands of percent since the 70s. These are all real problems. And yet, RFK Jr. is the absolutely wrong person to be addressing them, because rather than providing a solution, a return to trust in our institutions, he really is a conspiracy theorist who gives desperate Americans what looks like a solution, but is actually just hokum.
Over and over, the senators hit RFK Jr. hard on his moves to restrict access to the COVID vaccine. We don't know what's going to happen in a couple of weeks with all the other childhood vaccines that most doctors and medical establishments around the world say have saved millions and millions of lives. Both Democrats and Republicans told RFK Jr., you are limiting access to vaccines.
Yeah. And he did everything that he promised Senator Cassidy he would not do leading up to his confirmation. And I think Senator Cassidy was the real hero, because he really gave him a hard time, saying, you basically lied to me. He also brought up a really interesting point, which is he said to Kennedy, he said to him, you're always accusing everybody of being on the take of Big Pharma, but you have filled the CDC with people who have been paid to testify against vaccines. What about that conflict of interest? And he had nothing to say about that.
You know, a new poll out today shows that Americans overwhelmingly still do trust their own doctors, not RFK Jr. 79% trust their doctor for medical advice. 51% trust the CDC, which RFK Jr. is calling a, quote, cesspool of corruption. Only 26% trust the Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr. Does this poll mean that Americans aren't buying what he's selling?
Actually, that poll made me feel a lot better about the whole situation, because I think the American people look at him and they're like, whatever, this guy's obviously a kook. Like, you're exactly right. They're not buying it, which is very good news, because what he's selling is very dangerous. They are relying on their own doctors, and so they'll still be getting good information.
Yeah, but at the same time, we had the vice president, also J.D. Vance, weighing in after the hearing. He said, quote, you all, he's talking to the senators, Democratic senators, you all support off-label, untested, irreversible hormonal therapies for children, mutilating our kids and enriching Big Pharma. You're full of SHIT, and everyone knows it. Here's what's notable about that tweet from the vice president. He is supporting RFK Jr., but he's talking about transgender therapies and surgeries, which are very, very controversial and are now being seen with a great deal of skepticism, more so than a few years ago. He is not endorsing RFK Jr.'s vaccine stances, which are very controversial and
exactly right.
highly disputed.
So what the vice president did was very smart. He took an issue in which the Republicans, by supporting RFK Jr., are on the 20 side of an 80-20 issue, and he flipped it and said, no, this is really about the trans issue, an issue on which the Republicans are on the 80% side and the Democrats are on the 20% side of that issue when it comes to American support. Very smart, but also dangerous.
Do you think RFK Jr. continues to have President Trump's support going forward?
I really hope he doesn't. You know, he really did help the president win. And, you know, people say Donald Trump's not a person who's very grateful to people. He is. He was grateful to Elon Musk. He put up with a lot with Elon Musk. And I think he feels very grateful to RFK Jr. I think he cares about health. But I don't think he believes any of this, you know, vaccines causing autism stuff. And I think he knows it's dangerous.
He knows Operation Warp Speed was his single greatest, could be his greatest achievement ever. You know, history will judge. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 3.5 years, but it was a big deal.
It really was.
Batya, welcome. Great to have you here. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.